showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to Beyond the Jacket, where we sit down with FFA members and alumni who are turning their blue and gold dreams into a reality. I'm your host, Paige Cruz, and today we're joined by Lacey Evans, my co-host, and Summit Browning. Today we're diving into a story that blends entrepreneurship, agriculture, and a whole lot of coffee. Our guest is Summit Browning, starting his own coffee company through his supervised agriculture experience, and it's more than just a business. It's the start of a vision for a future that reaches all the way to owning his own cattle ranch someday. Summit, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
Yeah, so my name's Summit Browning. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Prairie, Montana, which is a little town right on the border of Yellowstone. Um, Agriculture has kind of always been a passion of mine, and I've kind of worked coffee into that so I can achieve my dream of owning a ranch one day.
That is so cool. I was like, hold on, how are we about to connect cattle and coffee? Because those are two of my favorite things. So I'm in. Like immediately, I'm already in. So obviously, like, what was it that first got your start in FFA or agriculture? Both of them, honestly. Like, did you grow up on a farm? Did you always dream of? I mean, you are out in Montana and you are sitting there in the cowboy hat. So I feel as if it kind of started at a young age.
Yeah. So I was actually born in Utah. We moved up here when I was 8 years old to Montana, and I joined the local 4-H club. My family was never initially involved in agriculture in Utah. My dad's just a blue collar worker, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So once we moved up here, we joined 4-H, and I met all the people that are involved with agriculture, and kind of fell in love with the people, and then slowly started bringing myself into the industry, and fell in love with that as well. So.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's
so unique that you started in 4-H. I mean, I also started in 4-H, but I also come from an agriculture background. Sorry about my cat. And anyway, the fact that you found your love truly and solely on your own, if that makes any sense, it wasn't stemming from a generational aspect. And I think that's quite unique that you found your start and you want to continue in that, obviously. How did you come up with the idea of starting your own coffee company? I love coffee. So
Yeah.
does Lucy. So this is very interesting to us and we're super excited.
Yeah. So like all through high school, I didn't really have a plan on how I was gonna move forth with my dreams of owning a ranch. But I did know that ranches are not cheap and cows aren't either. And so I kind of figured I had to have a career path that didn't have like a cap on the income per se. And I've always kind of been entrepreneurial. I started a Thanksgiving turkey business as an SAE when I was like 12, I think. And so I would raise and butcher my own turkeys, and I just enjoy being kind of in charge of my own destiny per se. And so coffee was a good industry. I kind of watched through the pandemic what people were still buying and what people kind of laid off buying. And coffee, of course, didn't go away. So I figured that was a pretty safe bet to get into, and I started it my senior year of high school as an FFA project.
That's really cool.
That's
As a fellow entrepreneur myself, I started my own brand. It's really cool to see that you like looked at the real business side of it, of like what is something that's going to impact it long term and something that I can see being lucrative. And especially having the pandemic effect of being like, okay, well, the pandemic weeded out a lot of things of like what was literally deemed necessary and unnecessary. Did you have any prior connections with your family through coffee, or was it just like, I really like it? I know it's going to be a good business, so let's just full send, even though I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, not really family connections. My mom used to just roast coffee for my dad because she was tired of Folger's breath, I guess. So she started roasting for him, and then I just kind of took over from there. She taught me how. And coffee was kind of an afterthought. That was never an industry I was super interested in per se, but once I got into it, it started to really kind of pique my interest. And of course, I give money back to agriculture from my business, so I figured out a way to tie in my passion to coffee.
That's so cool. Like that's such a niche specialty industry that you don't hear a lot about. And everybody enjoys coffee, but they never tie it back to agriculture. How did you start out the process? Obviously, you said you were an entrepreneurial mindset, which I think is really inspiring at such a young age. There's so many kids that don't have that quality and it's really unique. How did you start out? Talk us from the very first time in high school to kind of where you are now, Summit.
Yeah, so I started out of just brainstorming kind of with my mom, like on road trips. Everything here is far away. Like I'm an hour from a grocery store, so we have a lot of drive time, and so we would brainstorm in the car, and we kind of came up with this brand. And I already had a registered cattle brand because, of course, I have one or two cows running around just for fun, but and so we came up with Cowboy Coffee. Kind of had a good ring to it. Unfortunately, there was already a Cowboy Coffee, so I had to call it S-Bar-B Cowboy Coffee, but close enough. And then we kind of figured out the agriculture tie-in. So once we got the logistical brainstorming out of the way, I picked up my mom's old roaster that we hadn't touched in a long, long time. And it was like microwave size. It'd do 1 pound an hour, so pretty slow stuff. And I brought it to school with me because the winters get really cold here, and coffee, when you roast it, smokes a lot. So I used the welding shop for ventilation during the winters. And I roasted in the welding shop in the ag room, and my teacher graciously let me do that. I set off the school fire alarms, and it was kind of a mess there for a second, but we got her done. And I'd hand out samples to the teachers and see what they thought of it. And like in between classes, I'd ask to go to the bathroom or whatnot, and just go into the ag shop and roast more coffee to kind of show, give it out and see what people thought of it. So I got a bunch of feedback. There was a ton of, like, a year's worth almost of no money making and just investment in that aspect. And then once it started, I finally found a bean that I liked. They took that, and I bought a bigger roaster, and I built a building for it out of actually the old turkey shed that I used to use. And so now that's kind of where I'm at. I've expanded, of course, a lot. So I love sales. I did sales in FFA, and I even competed nationally, and I ended up getting third individually in sales, and it was always kind of my passion.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of my FFA peaks, I guess, but um, it was a good time. And so I go into grocery stores and I give them samples and hope for the best. So now it's expanded to 6 states and over 150 stores that I'm in, along with like 4 or 5 restaurants. So
That's really
This is
cool.
so cool. Like, I'm
yeah,
just fascinated by it all. This is like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
dope,
probably one
genuinely.
of like my
thank you.
favorite SAEs we've heard about, Lacey.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's in there because I love that. I really like the mindset of you were like, I'm gonna get a farm come hell or high water,
Yeah,
and how can I get this ranch? And then taking the business mindset of being like, what's something that it doesn't have to be a passion, but what is something that I can do that is going to be limitless in a way and is going to be something that I can always fall back on because it's something people always depend on. And then you had a prime market too, being at the school asking teachers samples because who drinks more coffee than exhausted teachers dealing with teenagers?
yeah,
So that was perfect to just be like, hey, Mrs. So and so, do you want to let me know if this coffee tastes good or not? Like, I need
absolutely.
opinions and input. So, no, I agree. I think this is a really cool one because it just expands. Here on Beyond the Jacket, we have really gotten to see all the different types of agriculture and all the different aspects of FFA and showing that it's more than just cattle and beans. But you literally have both of those.
Yeah,
And but it also is still different. Like it's so cool.
thank you.
So,
Thank you.
with your storefront summit, kind of going off of our outline, just because now I'm intrigued and I want to know everything, how 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 have you worked with like different stores and restaurants and things of that nature? I know you said you were in sales, and obviously you're pretty good at it to place on the national level. How does that aspect of your business work?
Yeah. So I make little sample bags, and they're basically a mini version of my real coffee. And so I go on Google like Maps or whatever, and I go to a different town every time, and I literally drive there with my little sample bags. And I have stores pre-scoped out, but then I also just usually find some along the way too. And I go to that town, and I go into the store. I ask for the manager, the owner, depending on what it is, and kind of my main markets like locally owned grocery stores. And I ask for the manager, and I tell them about my product. I tell them what I do, and a lot of times I'll leave the sample with them and they'll try it. And at first I was having like almost no success because I had to, those people are busy, of course, and so they never called me back on the product. That's pretty rare. So I would have to do follow-up calls, and I call once a week until I get a yes or a no from every business that I bring it to. And I'm at 150 stores now, but I would say I've probably given out over 1,000 samples. So there's a lot of no's to get a yes in the business for sure.
It makes
Oh,
that yes
absolutely.
so much sweeter.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
when somebody finally sees what you're doing It makes that yes so much sweeter. It's kind of like this podcast. The podcast was my yes, and I was like, score, go me, You get so excited. Did you ever have a moment during all of this that you were like, I made it. This is really going to work. And I know that through my perseverance of traveling and all of the different aspects I've put into my business, that I know one day it will totally like pay me back or I can accomplish that goal.
Yeah. So of course, I mean, I'm still building on the business, so I haven't had like I've made it yet, but I've had a few moments where I've like felt like I was progressing. I guess the first one is to get my facilities completely set up, and inspected and all that. That felt pretty good. To start that first batch of coffee and just see, I can roast like 50 pounds an hour now instead of one. So that was really cool. And then I have a company car that's all wrapped with my logo and everything that I drive around.
Oh,
Um,
heck yeah.
among others. So that was kind of cool to see it come out of the shop with my logo all over it. And it's got QR codes on the back and see people scanning it. And then going to other states and seeing my coffee in stores that I've never even visited was also really cool. Like I have it to Indiana and then I have it down into Oregon.
Dude, you need to let me know where at in Indiana. I'm about to go buy some cowboy coffee so I can check this out. Indiana's not far from me. I'm from Ohio. I don't know if I told you that in the
Okay.
beginning. So I'm over here in Ohio, and that is, do you have any do you do online sales too, or is it all just in person at the stores that you've gone through?
Yeah, I do online too. So I'm like super not a techie person at all. So I built my own website and I had some help from my mom, luckily, because I don't know if I would have got it done otherwise. But I do have a website and I do sell online. I offer like a monthly subscription. That was kind of one of my more recent additions. And then I also have like merchandise and stuff too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I get that. When I built my website, I paid a guy. I
Yeah.
built my first one, in 2020, and well, more like 2021, and it was, good. It was fine and dandy. But then when I had to build my second one, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay a real nice man who does this for a living to help me do this.
I
Yeah.
Because
actually got
sometimes that's part of it.
when Rachel and I, which is our other co-host, Summit, for a little background, when we were brainstorming ideas of individuals to come on to the podcast, we found your website. And we were like, this kid is so cool and we love coffee. And you didn't have an email listed. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get an answer. There's no way. I'm going to try, but I'm not going to get an answer. And I was so excited with like in an hour you responded to me. And so like your website was easy to find, like all the different things that you have and different things. So I've spent some time on there, not to like look like a stalker or anything. But anyway, we'll definitely have to try his coffee, Lacey.
I know. I'm gonna have to.
We could do like a separate episode, taste testing and
Yeah.
marketing for SBRB Cowboy Coffee.
Honestly, that could be an episode though. Like we could find other FFA kids who have like done a business, and if they have like a product we can actually like test out or try in some capacity. That's kind of a cool idea for an episode.
Look at us
Yeah.
brainstorming.
Look
Thanks,
at
Summit. What is your favorite coffee order, or do you just drink black coffee?
So I just drink black coffee. I don't even drink a ton of coffee. I'm kind of caffeine sensitive. But this February I got the opportunity to go visit the farm that I buy all my coffee from in the Dominican Republic. It's a family-owned farm. They're one of the biggest coffee producers in the Dominican, and I was able to take cupping classes for coffee, and so now I know what to look for in a coffee. The coffee beans I use cup at a 95 out of 100, which is excellent. And it makes them a little more expensive, but I think it's totally worth it. And it was also really cool to see the agricultural industry in the Dominican. It's very different than here, of course. And it was just really cool to see they hand fertilize all their coffee trees. They grow them under like a rainforest canopy. And I even got to plant my own. So that was cool.
That's super cool, and this is just so awesome. It just keeps getting better. What's the specific type of bean?
So
I
it's
don't know.
processed. It's like named after the process that they use when they dry it down. So it's a red honey bean. So it's like got a really smooth level to it and super low acidity. And it kind of has tones of like chocolates and nuts and stuff like that, as opposed to fruitier tones, which I prefer. And so I get that. That's just one of the processes that that farm does. They dry them in big greenhouses, basically, and they hand pick all the coffee beans. There's no such thing as like a harvester, and so it takes about 15 minutes to pick 1 cup's worth of coffee.
Huh. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
That's puts in perspective how much work goes into your cup of coffee. Maybe that's why Starbucks it costs $8 for a dang latte.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely.
maybe
Yeah.
we're bougie and
Yeah.
need to learn how to drink coffee black.
Yeah. I make it at home in a coffee pot.
Yeah. That could
Probably
never be me. You're brave. You're brave for your black coffee, but I will stick to my things that make it delicious in my opinion.
Yeah.
My dad drinks black coffee, and I tell him all the time that it could crank a tractor. Like the
Yeah.
level of caffeine and what is it? Like strong. I don't even know like the correct term for coffee, but however strong it is, I remember like walking in the kitchen and being like, "This smells really good, Dad." And he's like, "Yeah, it's some new coffee, whatever." And I like taking a sip of it, being like, "You could crank a tractor. That tastes like motor oil. Don't ever
Mhm.
give that to me again." So maybe for Christmas, I will order a bag of cowboy coffee and put it in his stocking.
There you
Yes,
That
that
would
would
go.
be
be
a
a
good
good
idea.
idea.
There you
Yeah.
go. A little Christmas gift.
Yeah, and I've actually
Absolutely.
never been able to drink black coffee, but like my coffee specifically is just so tame, kind of, I guess, in comparison. Like it has the average amount of caffeine and all that stuff. Like it's not any weaker per se, but it just has a lot more tame and smooth flavors. And like coffee gives a lot of people like acid reflux and stuff. And so I have a whole customer base that only drinks mine because it doesn't like give them acid reflux. So I always thought that was cool too.
Yeah, you need to put this in here. Okay, this is your flex of like, yeah, this my stuff is the bee's knees. Like,
Yeah.
I am
there's a
awesome.
reason that I'm
Buy
in
my
150
coffee.
stores, brother. Like, come on now.
Yeah, and it's a little more expensive, and unfortunately, I was just about to lower the price when the tariffs hit, and I go through like 2 pallets of coffee a month, and they went from $3,800 a pallet to 5,000. So that I didn't up my prices any; they stayed the same as when I started the company, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to lower them, and I'm trying to like, I'm not worried about, obviously I want to make enough money to buy a ranch, but I'm not worried about getting rich, so I want to make sure the consumer really enjoys my coffee. So I'm going to use this time as an advantage for me, where I take a little bit of a cut in pay, but then my coffee pricing becomes a lot more competitive compared to everyone else that keeps raising theirs while mine stays the same. And I'm hoping that gets me a new customer base that will buy
Yeah,
more coffee.
I'll tell you that right now, that's something that will take you far. When you actually have a care for your customer base and your people who are buying, you're definitely going to see that result long term. It may suck right now because you may not be turning the same profit that you could, and you can see that number and get discouraged. But one of my favorite pieces of advice that I got from somebody who I would consider like my biggest mentor in business and a fellow entrepreneur, when he was helping me with my hats and like setting prices, he was like, don't ever get greedy. He's like, just
Yeah.
because you can make that much of a profit doesn't always mean you should. And, people are going to appreciate the fact that you care about them and that you're trying to keep it affordable for their sake than just seeing you get rich quick and then your business could fall apart in a few years because it doesn't have that same consistent customer base that can be based on that like honesty and that just genuineness of like, I'm not trying to make it rich here, I just want to make a good product that you guys will enjoy and that can keep me afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my expenses are pretty high right now, and I'm trying to keep them a little lower
Mm-hmm.
by having my shed or like my facilities all on my property, like my parents' property, and I'm still living in the house and stuff, trying to save money for a house of my own. And people give me a hard time because they're like, "Oh, you own this big business, but why are you still living at home? Why don't you have a house yet?" And I'm like, "Well, trying to keep expenses low and save, for that." And I mean, as a 20-year-old, I'm paying over 15,000 a month in just bills for the coffee company, like not including insurance and fuel and all that. So
Yeah,
I mean, it makes it kind of hard to achieve
absolutely.
that. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have to pay for coffee, but I have to pay for college classes, so I know how that feels.
yeah,
And coffee is what makes it possible for me to take those.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
anyway, so talk us a little bit. We talked about your SAE. Talk us a little bit about your FFA journey. I know you said you started with 4-H, but how'd you get involved in the Blue Jacket?
Yeah, so I went to a tiny school. I went to Gardner High School. So in the whole school, it's K through 12 all in one building, and there's like 100 kids total K through 12. My class had 12 when I graduated. So a pretty small
Holy
school.
smokes.
So we had FFA offered in junior high as well, just to get more members. So I joined in seventh grade is when I joined FFA, and I kind of joined it because I was already into agriculture at that point. And Gardner is it's right on the border of Yellowstone Park, of course. So there's a lot of not very many ag kids, I guess, in that school compared to what you would think in a Montana school. So all of my people were kind of all my friends and everything did FFA. So I joined at 7th grade, and I kind of stuck with it. I always loved sales. I was asked to be a chapter officer in 8th grade just because of our lack of kids. They were kind of like, will you please help us out? So I started being a chapter officer in 8th grade, progressed through my sales team, made it to state. We had the same sales team all the way through my FFA career, minus like one kid. We made it to state our 8th grade year. That was the first time Gardner had ever made it to state in an event that you had to qualify for anyhow. And we didn't do very good because we were all middle schoolers, competing at state. But we made it every single year after that. And then finally, my junior year, we won. And then we were able to go to nationals for it. I didn't play any sports except for golf my senior year because I wanted to focus on FFA. I had a dream from the time I was a 7th grader to become a state officer after I saw them give their retiring address at state convention. And so I pursued that dream all the way through FFA, and eventually my senior year I was able to compete in nationals, which was one of my goals, and then also become the first vice president of Montana. So that was pretty cool, and that was kind of my FFA career, I guess.
That's exciting. So you were a state officer, yes?
I was, yep.
Look at there. I didn't even know that. That's awesome. That's super cool that it all started by just joining FFA in 7th grade and then progressing all the way through. Lacey, did you do sales? I don't know if we have sales in Florida.
I don't know if we do either because honestly, when he said sales, the first thing I thought of was like fruit sales. And I was like, we did that. I'm like, but I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure. I went to a small school too, so I didn't always feel like we had all the same opportunities, but you just put me to shame because normally I get to flex on everybody else because they're like, oh yeah, I went to a small school. Our graduating class was like 400. I'm like, you think that's small? I'm like, my graduating class was like 80, but 12 has me beat by a long shot. So
Well,
just
y'all have
kidding.
me beat in the opposite direction. I think I graduated with 1,300.
Yeah, see,
Dang.
that's insane to
So,
me. That idea is insane to me.
Yeah.
yeah, our high school was quite large, but unfortunately our FFA chapter was quite small, so I can relate to that. What has been one of your biggest challenges, Summit, with either an FFA, just leadership-wise, as an officer, or moving into your SAE? What has kind of been your biggest challenge?
Well, I guess in a small school, I mean, you kind of do everything. So, I mean, I was playing football, basketball, golf, FFA, speech and drama, National Honor Society. Like, I did band, I did
Oh,
everything. Like, everything there was to do, I was in it. And I was usually pretty involved because I just can't not be involved, I guess. So it was kind of hard to not like forget about school, because the homework was like the lowest on my priority list at that point. And so that was kind of difficult. And then as far as the business goes, getting people to like take you seriously when you're selling a product at 18 is pretty hard because they don't really believe that you're going to follow through with your marketing or follow through with your orders or just make a consistent, sustainable product, which is totally understandable. But it was kind of hard to get into those first initial stores when I was so young.
I
I know
can,
that feeling.
yeah, I was gonna say I can directly relate, not for being young, although I do have like a younger face and I always have, but as a woman owning a business, I can struggle from time to time, especially a woman who's a cattle woman too, and I own my cows.
Yeah.
I don't get taken seriously very often. I will never forget when I was set up at Farm Science Review, which is a big ag thing we have here in Ohio, and I was in my trailer. I had a trailer where I sold all my stuff out of, and this guy comes in and I'm in just little pigtails in my hat, and he was just like, I need to talk to the owner. And I was like, hey, hi, you're looking at her. And he said, huh? And I was like, I own the truck, the trailer, and the business, sir. Hi. And like
Yeah.
he was not ready to talk to me anymore. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am 19. I don't know why I just forgot my own age. But anyway, I'm 19 and like I've done AgCom and now I work with Farm for Profit and Beyond the Jacket and things of that nature. But I remember when I first started, the credibility behind I did ag advocacy for some sort of reference for you, Summit. And I remember when I first started doing like keynote speeches and different things at certain ag events, a lot of people wouldn't take me seriously because I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
And I have the background, the whole 90 to be able to talk and different qualifications. I mean, I spoke at nationals and different things of that nature, so I knew I was qualified. But I think it's the work ethic, like when you don't have to say that for yourself, that makes it that much better. Because obviously your business has grown and you've done great things, and even though they might have not taken you seriously then, you know they take you seriously now. And you
Yeah.
know that you're only going to get better. I mean, you're still young, obviously, but I'm excited to see where this goes. Talk us about the next goal you have about owning this cattle ranch. What's the pipe dream?
So yeah, the end goal, I guess, is to own a cattle ranch. So I've been a little background, I guess. I've been working on a ranch since I was 8. When we moved up here, I kind of started working on a little bit, moving wheel lines, and then as I got older and got a driver's license and stuff, I got more and more involved. So we run Black Angus cow calf operation here in Paradise Valley. Um, and then I was kind of in charge of all the hay and farming and all that stuff as well. But I just like, and of course, all my friends raise cattle too. So I was just, that really spurred the dream kind of because I just wanted that lifestyle for like future me and my future family, I guess. I don't think there's like a better way to raise a family than on a ranch. It really teaches core values, I think, in a way that's kind of unreplaceable by any other lifestyle. So that was kind of the initial driver for that. And then, of course, just living that more slowed down, simple life, even though it is stressful, has always appealed to me, of course, as well. So I guess that's kind of the ultimate dream to own my own property outright, not work for anyone else, and then be able to hire out like managers and stuff for the coffee company so I can continue with that, but be a little more hands off than I am right now and be a little more hands on with cattle. So.
Those are awesome goals. You'll both enjoy this story. So, Lacey, you have cattle. Summit, you worked on a cattle ranch. I'm a seventh generation Floridian and an eighth generation cattle rancher. So, every single summer, I would work on my family's cattle operation. So, I didn't go to sports summer camp. I mean, I went to like volleyball summer camp, like with my friends, like in the very beginning of summer, because the rest of the time I was required to be on a horse shipping cattle. So my mom always called it cow camp, that during the summer her kids went to cow camp. And so every summer we worked on the cattle ranch, and I can tell you now that I'm in college and my very first semester was over the summer, no one talks about missing it. Everybody's like, dang, I'm not the normal summer kid. I mean, for me, like, everybody spends their summer at the beach, but no one talks about wanting to go back and wake up at 4:30 in the morning to saddle your horse and go gather cattle with your family. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the simple living like you were talking about. And I can tell you, my time over the summer here, I was like, I just want to go back, man. I love it so much. And from time to time, you're like, why can't I go back to cattle camp? Like, classes are hard.
Yeah.
Simple living, you know? But anyway,
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. Like with me, it's always funny because I would have more opportunities in my content creation world if I were to move somewhere different. But I'm like, you can't pay me to leave these cows. Like if I go on a trip, the first thing I am thinking is I'm like, I just want to go like hug my cows. Like there's nothing quite like it. I really do believe that, and I do agree with you. And I feel like honestly doing it out in Montana would be like peak, because I feel like that would just like live the full Yellowstone fantasy. Do you have an opinion on the show Yellowstone since you live
oh
so
god.
close? Are you like, these people don't, this is not Yellowstone? Or are you just kind of like, you know what? I want to be Rip Wheeler.
Yeah, so I mean, the town that they film everything in Yellowstone is literally, I don't know, maybe 5 miles from my house. I've never seen a single episode of the show, to be honest. I don't really watch much TV because I still work on the ranch too. So whenever I'm not doing coffee in the evenings and weekends, I'm ranching.
Yeah, you're
Um,
busy.
yeah, and so I've actually never seen an episode of the show. But from what I have seen on the show, I think it's a very entertaining television series, but I don't think it's very realistic, of what it's like to live out here.
You want to
So
know something really embarrassing? So I have also never seen an episode of Yellowstone, but I got one of the characters from Yellowstone to endorse my book. So I look like a real
That's
poser.
cool.
there you go.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
We had a farm tour, so my family did a lot with like the state and House representatives on legislation and water issues in the state of Florida just because of our location. It was something really important for the cattle industry at that time to be in cahunes with those very important people. And so we had to give a ranch tour, and I felt like I was at Disney World. Hopefully you're familiar with what that is. I was on a Greyhound bus in the middle of our cattle ranch connected to a microphone, and I was like, this is weird. We ride side by sides or hunt buggies. Like, why am I on a Greyhound bus in the middle of a cow pasture? But that being said, I was giving a farm tour, and one of the little girls in the back, and I say little girl, she was an adult, she was much older than me, probably had a lot more higher resume than me as well. And she was like, does it refer to like Yellowstone, the TV show? Like, is that how real cowboys act? And I was like, I also have never seen a episode of Yellowstone. So I can't really answer that. Definitely protecting the land, but not so much the mafia part.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know about a train station. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, let's get back on track. Anyway, sorry, that was a good little impromptu rabbit hole we ran down. What is one thing you wish more people understood about Agriculture Summit?
I wish that they understood that us as agriculturalists aren't trying to like get super rich or take advantage of anyone or like create unhealthy products with like fertilizers and stuff like that. I wish that they would understand that we're trying to take care of the land, and we do take care of the land better than like 90% of America's population. And I wish they could just step back and look at the cities that they live in as opposed to rural farmlands and really think to themselves which one of these is healthier for the environment or whatever issue that they're concerned about.
Yeah, cow farts are not killing us, guys. Fun fact. I really think that it's those giant smokestacks that are in cities and that smog you guys got going on. I think that's way worse than some of my cows letting out a little methane with a toot.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
We always said that agriculturalists were the original environmentalists. And a crazy statistic in Florida is before all the people here, there was 1 million cows and 100,000 people, and there were no environmental issues. Now there's 100,000 cows and 1 million people, and we're seeing issues. You tell me who's to blame. And I think that's one thing a lot more people need to hear about, is that agriculturalists are going to do what's best for our environment, for animal welfare, for consumer transparency, because that's their lifeline, man. Why would you hurt your consumer when that's what's paying your bills at home? And then again, you're still not becoming crazy rich like you're saying. There's no way. And I wish there was just more transparency and people were open-minded to what the agriculturalist is doing, not only to put food on their dinner plate in the evening, but also for our environment and make sure we're sustainable moving forward. And I think it's really important. It's something really good to know at a young age.
Yeah,
Sound like
absolutely.
an old lady, and I'm not. I don't know why I said
I was gonna
that.
say, Paige, you're the youngest one on the show.
Don't call me out like that, girl.
You were calling me old yesterday when we recorded. I have to call you out. You didn't have to drop the mic when I'm like, yeah, my first FFA convention was 2011, and you're like, I was like 6. I'm like,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thanks. But no, I think that is a big thing, and that's something I strive to do with my platforms, is kind of just like make people aware, because I have very friendly cows because I showed my entire life, so they're all mostly ex-show heifers, or I'm just an insane person and I will cuddle my cows until they are used to me. And so people are like, oh my god, like this is so great, I wish all farmers were like this. And I'm like, well guys, what would a farmer benefit from abusing their animal that makes them money? An abused animal does not get a good rate of gain. An abused animal is not going to be thriving. Like, a farmer is going to put everything they possibly can into it, because at the end of the day, if you want to think they're money hungry, why would they like lose out on money by just being an awful person? You know what I mean? Like, an unhappy, unhealthy, abused animal is not going to produce milk. They're not going to have the same rate of gain. So I'm telling you right now, yes, my cows are pampered, but those cows in a dairy operation are not getting abused just because they're getting milked. And cattle that are being slaughtered are usually handled so well up until that one bad day. So yeah, it's definitely hard to fight the misinformation, but we have to do it, because if not, who else will?
When you look back at your time summit in the Blue Jacket, or even now when you're outside of it working with your SAE, what are you most proud of?
That's a hard question. In the Blue Jacket, I would say I'm proud of my development in the ability to talk to people and like speak about my opinion and what I believe in, and also the industry that I believe in. Because before I joined 4-H and FFA, I was very much like kind of a hermit and kind of very shy and didn't want to talk to anyone. So I am proud of that developmental stage in the Blue Jacket. As far as right now in the after the Blue Jacket, I'm pretty proud of where my company's been able to go in 2 years. And I've gotten to the point where the ranching is just kind of a fun thing that I do instead of something I need to make it by and pay the bills. And so it's nice to have the coffee. It's kind of self-sufficient, and I'm excited to keep growing that.
So this is so cool. I've enjoyed this episode, and I've enjoyed talking with you, Summit, and learning about your SAE and your time in the Blue Jacket. Is there something you would tell a younger FFA member or even a young entrepreneur, um, a piece of advice moving forward?
Yeah. Honestly, what I always told myself is just like have an end goal and follow it, and just do so much like work and put so much effort into it that it would be completely unreasonable to fail. And I think that's the best path to take.
Work ethic. Just keep
Yeah.
every time,
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
every single
absolutely.
time. That's
Yeah.
that's so valuable. We get a lot of the don't give ups or don't be afraid to say no's, which are all very valuable advice, but I think that was definitely one of the deeper answers we got to the question. One I always enjoy asking every guest that comes on. You get to
Yeah.
kind of see people's character in that aspect. Lacey, you have any last questions to ask Summit before we wrap up?
Honestly, I feel like I could have a lot more questions, but I feel like we probably should wrap up so that we don't have Summit for, I mean, man's got to get to roasting some beans and wrangling cattle. We can't keep him that long.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Well, Summit, thank you for joining us today and showing how your entrepreneurship and agriculture can take so many different forms, even if it's a cup of coffee. Your drive to connect your business to your bigger dream of ranching is exactly what FFA is all about. So, thank you for coming on. We enjoyed having you. To our listeners who are tuning in, make sure to check out Summit Browning's coffee, S Bar B Cowboy Coffee, I
Yep.
think is right. Make sure to go online and order some coffee and support some of our FFA members. Thank you guys for coming on.